Hi there, folks, from our Perfect Game TV, Brooklyn, New York studios. My name is Daron Sutton. Do me a favor, think back to 8th grade. Now, whether you're 17, 27, or 67, you could remember that time of life. On the verge of high school, the world was changing, you were changing. Now consider this, if you're an elite athlete, specifically a baseball player, 8th grade is the age of recruitment. 8th grade in many cases is the age of college commitment. If you're fortunate enough to be inside the top 150 or so, this is what the world looks like for you. When you think about the class of 2027, in other words, 8th graders, this is what they're going through. And this is the Class of 2027 Review Show. As we rolled out the high school classes throughout the month of December and into January and reviewed 23, 24, 25, and 6, Jheremy Brown, the great writer and scout, and the man who handles all things 13 and 14U Select Festival for Perfect Game, released his rankings in the class of 2027. And Jheremy spends time with us now, giving us an opportunity to connect with who those athletes are. 8th grade, you remember it, right?
Absolutely. How could you not?
Yeah, it was one of those times where it seemed confusing for all of us. Yet you are seeing these athletes more often than not are ready to commit. They're being recruited by colleges. It's intriguing, this 8th grade. You have them committing over your shoulder. You can see the Great Wall. It's so interesting what these athletes in 8th grade, the 2027s, are going through. Kind of explain it as you deal with them and their families.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole process, right? It's expedited for the recruiting. When I first started at Perfect Game, it was a lot of juniors committing. Then you slowly saw the sophomores and a rare freshman. Now you look at our rankings of the top 100, almost 20%, 27 classes committed. There's a handful outside the top 100. So it's definitely a fast forward process now. A couple kids have committed on the show live over on the Perfect Game Instagram. We got another one coming up. And for me, it's just something that they get a little extra to do. They're going to announce it anyway. So why not make a cool little affair out of it?
Yeah, you did a great job. Let's talk about that. Let's go to those rankings and talk about the top 10. And at the very top of the list is Chase Fuller. He recently, on Instagram Live, committed to Florida State, did so with you. This is a 12 and 13U Select Festival athlete. This is a young man whose dad played college football and for a decade in the NFL. As a matter of fact, he was the MVP of his high school JV team as a 7th grader. Please scout him up for us.
It's just different when it comes to Chase. Obviously, the bloodlines are there all throughout his family, brothers, cousins, mom, dad. And you think 8th grade, you're thinking, all right, like they can't be that gifted already. And then you watch Chase play in the bat speed. He's already 6'1", 6'2", filling out his frame. He's huge, he's physical, he's young. He's up to 90 on the mound. From the summer even to the fall, the bat speed, the strength, and the overall infield actions have taken that next step forward. Obviously committed to FSU. You know, just a family legacy type deal there, but Chase's talent on its own warrants his own commitment.
In that number 2 spot, as we go back to the rankings, is a left-handed pitcher out of Southern California, Logan Schmidt. Mom Jessica played softball at UCLA. Here you have the number 1 southpaw in the land.
Yep, and just like in 2026 with Cruz Schoolcraft being the number 2 overall player, big left-hander, Logan Schmidt kind of follows suit. West Coast kid, up to 88 this summer. But it's the size, the overall just looseness, the low effort operation, the feel for spinning a breaking ball already. And then you consider he was 13 touching 88, and you quickly realize why he's one of, if not the top arm in the country.
What I love about the man in the 3 spot, Lash Henderson, is he admits that using YouTube is a way that he preps. Now that's not what separates him. All your athletes do that. But he watches Bo Jackson clips all the time. Who is Lash Henderson?
So Lash, I mean, he doesn't have the muscle of Bo Jackson just yet, but the athleticism, he's already running well under a sub-7, mid-80s from the outfield, the bat speed, and the juice already. He's long, he's 6'2", 6'3". So it's easy to project on him. Obviously, at the 2027, 8th grade, 13U, you can say projectable for basically anybody. But the combination of his projection, athleticism, looseness, all the adjectives you want to use in scouting apply to Lash, and that's why he's ranked as high as he is.
In the number 4 spot, another select festival athlete. As a matter of fact, they all are inside the top 10. Landon Green, a right-handed pitcher out of Clearwater, Florida. What I love about Landon is on the personal side. He talks about his dad, Landon, his mom, Michelle, and his bonus dad, Jason. So 3 people loving this young man. He's taking advantage of that kind of support, and you've seen him play a ton. He's a great athlete.
A ton for sure for Landon. He was on the national circuit. I think just to kind of keep things simple and short to him, he's 13, throwing 91 with low effort. So I don't know what else you're really looking for there. The ball explodes out of his hand. Huge life, spins a big 12-6 breaking ball. So as he continues to lock that all in, refine his operation, the sky's the limit for Landon Green.
Joshua Priest is out of San Diego, California. Parents played college baseball and softball. La Jolla Country Day. This is an outfielder with some slug, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Went yard at 13U National. That's down at West Palm, the spring training home with the Astros and Nationals. So clearly you have big league fields, you have wooden bats in their hands, but it didn't deter him from kind of doing what he does. Really good athlete. His brother, we saw at the Junior National, Matthew, run 6'1", so obviously the genetics are there. And Josh is definitely following in his brother's footsteps.
Cartersville, Georgia, that's the heartbeat of Perfect Game, really not too far from East Cobb, the great complex. Cole Crawford, he plays there a lot. He's a catcher, and Crawford loves Austin Riley. I think all Atlanta kids love Austin Riley. Who is Cole Crawford? We have a catcher on the list now.
And Cole, you look at him, and he's built different. He's 6'2", super athletic. And from what I'm told, he's just as good on the gridiron, already going to get some looks there for how athletic he is, how big he is, how hard he hits. So he's a catcher on the diamond, huge arm strength, probably some of the best overall arm strength in the class. Uses the sides to an advantage, creates big leverage, can juice balls out to all parts of the field. So when you have a catcher this young you can project a stick behind the plate, usually off to a good start there.
So it's interesting. We've gone 1 through 6, Jheremy, and here's what I find intriguing. You've got a shortstop, right and a left-handed pitcher, outfielder, and a catcher. You've covered every position. Fuller, of course, a middle infielder. I love the diversity, positional, if you can, at the very top of your first 6.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not even intentional, but just the way things kind of shake out. You see him at the World Series. You see him at the National Showcase, the WWBA. You kind of start to line things up, and you keep going down the list, and I think it kind of stays pretty diversified, and I think that's a good thing just moving forward.
Carson Bear Calvo. Carson Bear Calvo. He was a Pop Warner All-American. How could you not be with a name like Bear? But put a bat in his hand, and what happens?
Oh, he's going to catch your attention instantly. West Coast kid, but he plays on the East Coast, basically lives out here during the summer, so you see him at all the big stops. Really defensive versatility is good for what he brings to the table. You could see him at shortstop, you'll see him behind the plate, on the mound. But really it's the bat that stands out, the bat speed, and his ability to already impact the baseball. Down at the All-State games, I thought he ran into one. It was a cold night, so it kind of fell short of going over the wall, but all the tools are there for Bear.
Mama and Papa Bear are Kevin and Elise when he heads back home to Fullerton, California during the school year. In the 8th spot is Bryan Ravelo. This is a young man that's committed, an LSU commit, Doral Academy charter, Miramar, Florida. Who is this talented outfielder?
Bryan Ravelo, he's another one who actually is over my shoulder somewhere on that wall. He did a live commitment with us. Miami kid, but he's going to LSU. 6'3", another one, like 6'3" at 13, 14 years old just isn't normal. But that's why these guys are ranked where they're at. Running a 6'7", mid-80s from the outfield. Like, he's a game-changing defender out in the outfield. Rangy, can play center field. Then you watch him offensively with the bat speed and all the tools that he brings to the box, plus the physical projection. I mean, there's no question why Jay Johnson and the staff went after Ravelo as early as they did.
Athlete time when we talk about Carter Hadnot, a young man out of Rialto, California. As a matter of fact, in his 113 perfect game events, his on base, 479. I love the fact that he shared with all of us throughout the summer that he plays inspired by his brother Chase, who is on the spectrum as it pertains to autism. Chase is his heartbeat. Who is he, Carter, as a player?
You got a real good look at Carter, obviously throughout the summer into the National, made the festival. But then this fall, we saw him again at the WWBA down in West Palm. And we got to see him hit from both sides of the plate consistently, flip-flopping back and forth. It's pretty much a mirrored swing. and he won MVP honors. We were talking about it, and it's like, well, who could it be? It could be player A, player B. Then we watch Hadnot. He goes, ranges up the middle, fully extended, rolls around, throws a strike onto first, and goes, we're basically like, that's the guy. So offensive, defensive, whatever you want, Carter Hadnot has.
There are two, well played by the way, Carter Hadnot has. It's not that he has not has, that he has it. Well played, and I don't even know if you meant to do that. Caden Dawson, the second member of the East Cobb program inside our top 10 from Marietta, Georgia. This is an outfielder, two-time Select Festival athlete. He expects to go to high school at Blessed Trinity, which of course has produced a bunch of great athletes.
Yeah, he's another one, just like Cole, big football player coming out of Georgia. Physical though, he made one of those defensive highlight plays at the 13U festival, out in left field, ranging just shy of the wall with the Willie Mays type over the shoulder catch. Left-handed stick, really short and simple swing, so he's able to get to his power consistently. All fields approach, it's a lot of what you want to see in a young prospect.
I want to go into the fact that you see 3 Florida, 4 California, 1 Texas, 2 Georgia in the top 10. But H, when I go to the top 25, I have 12 total states. Those states are still there, but I'm going Vermont, Virginia, Alabama, New York, Michigan, Tennessee, Washington, Wisconsin. I love the diversity. We'll pick a few players out, but I love the diversity of those from 1 to 25. Make sense?
Absolutely, and I think it kind of speaks to the landscape now of the opportunity kids are getting at a younger age to kind of make a name for themselves on the national circuit. So wherever you're from, we're going to find you, you're going to get your exposure, and hopefully you're going to show out for us.
I love Ricky Lopez. You and I, obviously, I know of him because of you. You helped find him. He's from here. We're in our New York studios, but he trains a lot in the Dominican Republic because of family ties. Ricky Lopez, one of the best plays I've ever seen for a 13U player at our 13U Select Festival.
He won the Rawlings Gold Glove for the 13U last year and promptly followed it up with that diving play in the 6-hole. Where you had to rewind your TV and look at it again because no 13-year-old should be making that play. Just the wherewithal to get to his feet, use the turf to his advantage with the one hopper across. And the defense is unreal. It's otherworldly right now. There's right-handed power to it too. Don't discredit his frame. He's not on the more physical. He's not a Cole Crawford, Bryan Ravelo. But the bat speed and the bat-to-ball skills are certainly there.
We don't discredit anybody's frame. There's no doubt if you can play like that. Caden McCarthy from Vermont is in the 16 spot. All-Stars Academy, one of his travel teams. Chester, Vermont, a right-handed pitcher.
That's just not something you hear often. Like Vermont and top 20 with baseball don't really go hand in hand. But Caden McCarthy is not your typical arm either. Not on the national circuit as much as some of these other arms. But when he has been, he's made quite a name for himself. 13U WWBA, won a CG on opening day, struck out, I think, a dozen, maybe more. Then fast forward to the end of the summer, a New York event, I believe, and he's up to 88. So the fastball has taken that significant jump already. The breaking ball is for real. Obviously, you have, Vermont. I think that's just the coolest thing ever, that we have a kid this young identified as this type of prospect. So he's going to definitely be one that I'm going to make sure to see this summer.
Yeah, it was probably one of the great events at Staten Island. The heart beats strong right here. I'm in Brooklyn now, but so many great PG events in Staten Island. One more, let's pick out of the top 25. Let's go back out west to San Diego, California. Matthew Kelly is a Miami commit. Despite being from San Diego, he plays for USA Prime. This is a middle infielder.
Yep, and Matthew, he was actually committed with us the next day after Chase Fuller. So they were it's a good way to bookend our little segment here. You mentioned West Coast. We mentioned Bear Calvo, how he basically lived on the East Coast. Matthew Kelly had, I believe it was almost 340 plate appearances this year alone in 2022 at Perfect Game tournaments, not including showcases, which we did a couple of. But he still hit 415 on the year, 91 stolen bases, 20-something doubles. You look at it, it's like reading a video game and you go, maybe it's a small sample size, but no. Matthew Kelly's bat is very for real. Miami commit, like you mentioned, so kind of went coast to coast. And then the defense, we saw it at the All-State games. Every time he had a ball hit towards him, it almost seemed like a highlight reel type play. So well-rounded. It's a really good way for Miami to kind of kick off their 27 recruiting cycle.
H, thanks for your insights, man. You dropped the 27 class on us. This is exciting. Can't wait to see these athletes play this year. And thanks for getting out there and finding them with your team, finding all these great players. As you said, if you're good, we'll find you.
Absolutely. Now we get to go watch them develop.
That's the best part of it. And one of the best parts of it, if you found us on Perfect Game TV, is that we are devoted to this type of content 24/7. Now, if you're watching us online, go ahead and make sure you find our app. Go to the App Store on any smart device and go ahead and download perfectgame.tv. Live events, of course, breakdowns of athletes like this, great stories and in-depth features on the future of the game of baseball and on occasion, softball as well. On behalf of Jheremy Brown, my name is Daron Sutton here in our New York studios. This has been a class review of the class of 2027. Now, as he said, we'll see you and all of them out at the ballpark.